I can, yeah.
Amazing. So I have still absolutely no idea how to open these things yet. So, some people have got those really catchy openers. That's not me. So I'm just going to go right into it. So, director, producer, photographer, and entrepreneur as well. You're a very busy man.
Oh yes, very busy, very busy.
Yeah. I know you've got quite an interesting story as well. So I just wanted to know first, how did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in a little town called Waltham Abbey. It's just north of London, and I lived there with my mum and my stepdad and my younger brother. Um, and went to the local comprehensive, which was at the end of my road, which was incredible because it literally took me like 5 minutes to get to school every day. Uh, However, it didn't stop me being late nearly every day for school. Um, Fortunately, that's something that I've managed to like sort out in my adult life in terms of timekeeping.
Yeah.
But it was such a thing at my school that at the end of year 11 when I finished, my form tutor bought me a map of my hometown and an alarm clock so that I wouldn't I wouldn't be late for anything else.
Wow.
And it was at school where I kind of found my I guess my passion for creating things. I had a really great art teacher. His name's Mr. Foster. He was a great guy, and he taught us all about photography, digital art. Not so much on the filmmaking, but it was definitely that kind of, I guess, led me on the path to think about doing that as a career.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's more taught, well, not really taught in schools anymore. Well, not yet anyway. I think it will be something like digital media and stuff like that. I think that'll be taught more in schools over the coming years because it's obviously more and more sought after.
Yeah, of course.
100%. So, and how did you kind of like break into the industry from there?
So yeah, after school finished, I kind of wasn't really quite sure what to do. I kind of wanted to go down the traditional A level path, and do something academic. Both my parents had done that, and I think they were quite keen for me to do that. But they also kind of encouraged me to to do something that would be interesting and to do what you love. That classic line that you're kind of told by older people. So I actually enrolled at a local college, Harlow College, to do a course in creative media.
Okay.
It was really good, and it was only 3 days a week. And I know that my mum, she really disliked that I was only sort of busy, as it were, for 3 out of the 5 days. So she was quite keen for me to use the extra time not playing video games or sleeping or whatever it is 15-year-old, 16-year-old boys do. So I basically emailed every creative agency within a commutable distance of my house, being like, and honestly, it was a shocking email as well. Like, looking back, I've looked at it a few times since, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, I just don't understand how it led to where it did. But
How many does that equate to? Like, how many would you say were up and running at that point? Were there a few, or were there not that many?
honestly, there were loads. There was enough that I think I sent over 100 emails to start
Wow.
with. That I didn't even scratch the surface. I was kind of still only looking at that North London area, really, and literally no one replied to me, which was quite deflating. Except this one guy who was like, "Yeah, thanks for reaching out, but no." Uh,
Wow.
and and that was quite disheartening, I guess, because I think that in that age you're kind of told that you can ask for things and people will generally help, and I think that you're kind of led to believe at that kind of those formative years, 16, 17, that anything's possible, and that it's not often people get in your way, I guess, was kind of what I kind of thought anyway.
Yeah.
So it was quite a good life lesson in that actually, just because you ask for something doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Yeah,
And people
100%. And I suppose at this point as well, you were still in that cycle of go to college, get good grades, go to university, get good grades, and being taught how to live your life and like make a future by people who have no idea how to make money and build a future, if that makes sense. It's just that cycle.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you have your seminars at college, and actually, to be fair to them, everyone that was teaching at that college had experience in industry, and they did
Yeah.
know what they were talking about. But it was it was quite difficult to see it as reality. But anyway, the guy that got back to me, I actually emailed him a few weeks later. I think my dad basically said, "Don't give up. He's replied, and that means something.
Hmm.
A reply does mean something." And I wrote back to him, and I was like, "Look, it's been like a month or a couple of weeks. What's the situation now?" And he said, "Actually, you know what? We do need a bit of help. How about you give me a call? Let's chat." And that was it, really. I mean, I went, I think about 2 weeks later, I did an internship straight away. One of the sort of unpaid expenses thing. And it was quite close to my house actually as well at the time. It was only a one town over. So
Oh
it was
wow.
kind of perfect, really. And then that kind of just snowballed. I did, I think I spent the first week syncing audio and visuals together, but with
Right.
no scratch audio on the footage. So I was
Yeah.
doing it by lip reading. And
Wow.
I think that week killed editing for me. It completely
Never again.
never. And honestly, I still do it now. I still dislike it just because of that week, because obviously I was learning and it was difficult. But I mean, at least I know now never ever to film without
Yeah.
having that baseline.
And it was voluntary. You weren't getting paid as well, were you?
No, just my train fare, my bus fare, and like a fiver for lunch.
Yeah.
That sort of.
I was having a conversation with somebody the other day and saying, and they told me that they thought that was a lost art now. People that are growing up in this kind of generation haven't really got that drive to just work for free until, if it's something that you love, work for free until you've got the experience. They just expect to have the um, yeah, you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I think that on the one side, I do think people should be paid for the work they do. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, I was doing work for clients. The company was making profit off that work I was doing. However, I didn't have the experience needed for that job, so I never would have got it had I applied.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those situations. I think that absolutely, it's worth me saying that I was so privileged to be in a position where my parents were still financially supporting me in college. I wasn't paying for any of my expenses to live, so it wasn't like I needed a job to make money. I was doing this to get experience. So, and there are many people that can't do that. They can't just go and work for free,
Yeah.
and that's what I did. So, I think that there's two sides to it, isn't there? That absolutely people should be paid, but also sometimes you have to make opportunities that aren't there.
Yeah, 100%. I think it comes down to this concept of delayed gratification, and just having the experience for work you're going to be paid doing later. I know a lot of people that have got a 9 to 5 just to pay the bills of something they don't like, just so they can work from 6 p.m. until midnight on, pursuing what they want. So I think it works both ways. So when you were doing the that in have that had that experience, what was kind of the best piece of advice you were given?
It's a very good question. One that I
Or
don't
was
have
it just
anything.
the hard knocks of editing that, that got you through?
I think that it was, the company I joined was very small at the time.
Okay.
I think that there was like three of them in the business at this point. So I think what was kind of driving me forward was that, okay, well, I kind of believed that I was a nice person, charismatic, and generally motivated, self motivated. So I did kind of think, well, if I work hard, there might be a job here for me.
Right.
But also, I was kind of caught up in the fact that, wow, I'm actually doing something that this could be my job, and I think that was a big enough thing in itself. In that, okay, yeah, the work wasn't like making TV commercials for Red Bull or something like that, but
Yeah.
it was something that wasn't me just filming myself in my bedroom and playing around with After Effects. It was like proper professional work. So I think it was that was keeping me going. To be honest with you, it was that thing.
Yeah, 100%. So, in terms of when you were on that kind of come up and yeah, just going from having no experience to gaining the experience, was there anybody that you kind of like looked up to in the industry, or anybody that you idolize maybe?
To be honest, I didn't actually have that figure going into film. I guess. I mean, I went into the corporate video world, so it's not like you don't have a Michael Bay or a Chris. Or, those figures don't really I guess they do exist, but they're probably more just known by, I'm sure you and I could probably mention some people that we knew that we thought were good and were doing great things, but
Yeah.
it's like they're not publicly known. They're kind of just known within an inner circle that you kind of break into over time. So I think that it was kind of seeing my boss at the time doing some great stuff, people in the creative team. It was those people kind of going, well, look, these people are like 10, 15 years older than me, and that's what I could be doing. So I guess I was kind of looking up to my colleagues at the time.
Yeah, that's yeah, like kind of surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd say that was the only experience that I had of that, though. Like, it wasn't like I was then leaving work and then, mixing with other people that were kind of, media moguls or whatever, anything like that. It was, I was growing up in a sort of working class, middle class environment where, going into something like the creative industry wasn't the norm. I think that looking back on it now, actually, it's quite interesting to see where people I went to school with and where they went. People have gone into the creative industry, and I think that that's really great because it's something that I didn't expect to happen. So seeing that, other people have taken their own paths to get there, it's quite good. I'm really happy to see that happen.
That's good. I know I've got a daughter, she's 6, and kind of talking with her little friends at parties and stuff, they all want to be YouTubers and TikTokers, and those are the kind of aspirations now. Where it was before, it was like actor, footballer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of seeing a switch. So I know you have kind of had quite a long-term relationship. I think I saw it was about 6 years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
How
7 years
do
now.
you manage being busy with a lot of projects and still being like having time for the relationship as well? Because I know a lot of people struggle with the life balance.
Mm. I'd say it was very difficult when I was self-employed,
Right.
because at that time it was every minute that I was awake, I guess, had to be productive, or I thought it had to be productive, and I think that was one of the downfalls I had at that time. I think as I've kind of gone in and out of working a 9 to 5 job, I think that where I am now, I am in a 9 to 5 role. That does help, but
Mhm.
ultimately it kind of comes to the territory. I mean, that I got my girlfriend at that time when I kind of got that job as well. So
Right.
you know, it kind of grew together. It wasn't like I was already in a career and then I met someone and then we kind of went from there. It was like we were both kind of growing together anyway. So I think it was just one of those things we just learned to adapt, and our relationship has kind of taken its course through that naturally.
Yeah.
Um, there was a period of time where I was traveling a lot, with work specifically, but I don't think there was. I didn't think that there was any resentment at the time. I did, she was just happy that I was doing what I wanted to do, and that when I got back or when I was available, we just had good times
Yeah.
together, and I think
Yeah,
that's like something.
I think that's attractive in a partner as well. They're quite ambitious and they know what they want to do, and not just sitting around.
Yeah, absolutely, and my partner, she's doing her own thing too, and I guess that's what we are, like she's going her way, I'm going my way, and we're kind of just moving through life together at the moment, and it's really great. It's really great.
Amazing, amazing. So in terms of kind of looking back, if you were to give anybody a piece of advice going in, like breaking into like directing or the like any creative industry, what kind of advice would you give?
I think, touching on that YouTube thing you mentioned, I'm a strong believer in that if you literally just sit there and watch those videos, you will get better, regardless of what you do. You don't have to go to the top university, you don't have to go to college to do these courses. You could do something that's completely uncreative, and then pick this up at any point in life. And that I strongly believe that. I don't think that you're. I think people are born with natural talent, but I don't think that means it can't be learned.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. There's the old phrase that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard.
yeah, I mean, that's basically what I was saying. Yeah, that's perfect. That summarizes my point perfectly. In that, there's thousands of hours of amazing tutorials on YouTube. I mean, even now, having been working for 6, 7 years, I use it daily. If I want to learn how to do
Mm.
something, because I've been using Premiere Pro or After Effects for all this time, it doesn't mean I know it inside out. Because it changes every year as well, which is very frustrating. Um, but I don't know, say you want to make a title appear, you don't know how to do it. Okay, my absolutely first step is to go onto YouTube and type in how do I make this thing happen, and then there's like hundreds of videos, and um, so I guess my advice would be take advantage of the free stuff out there. You don't need to pay to do these things. I'm not saying they won't help. They'll give you things like connections and help you grow your network, and those things are invaluable. And I would say that that's probably the main reason that I'd recommend going to college or university.
Yeah, the connection.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because you just, and at the time I didn't even realize it when I was there. But I think that looking back on it now, when you're looking for someone to hire, myself as a producer, bringing people in for jobs and stuff, I go straight to my Facebook page and I just go, hey, anyone around to do this next week?
Yeah, and I noticed that actually when I looked on your page.
Yeah, and that's all I use Facebook for now. I mean, unfortunately, in my teenage years, I used to put everything and anything on it, and Facebook memories it kills me on a daily basis because I have to look back at my 14, 15-year-old self and what little Ben would put on Facebook, and it's like a bit of a cringe fest, daily cringe fest that I just have to live with.
Yeah,
but now it's grown into a professional tool for me now, definitely.
So how's COVID been for you? The last kind of 9 months, 10 months?
Yeah, COVID's been interesting. I think that lots of people probably got lots to say that are way more qualified to say about coronavirus and how they feel about it. Personally, I spend a lot of time in this room now.
Yeah.
And I'm not particularly someone that thrives on spending a lot of time in solitude. I think that part of being someone that's creative, you kind of thrive off of being around other people. So I would say that it's probably been a bit stifling creatively this year. I think I spent a lot of time worrying and feeling anxious about the world, and I guess kind of taking it upon myself to, I guess, try and make it better, but obviously having completely no control over that. So
yeah,
it's been good and bad. Good in the sense that I'm at home, I haven't got to get on the train every day. I get to see my partner a lot. We get to hang out a lot more, and that's really great. I don't. You don't have to go to an office. You save a lot of money because I know, like before, probably spending like £200 a month on the train, and that's gone. So there's lots of pluses, but I definitely miss just going for like that Wednesday evening pint with your mates from work, and you just have a couple of beers, you vent about sort of the midweek blues or whatever, you kind of chat about it and then just go on your way. And that's kind of lost, the Zoom sessions, the phone calls, they just don't really, they're not a replacement.
Yeah.
They're good, but they're not the
same. Yeah, 100%. So I started this during the pandemic. So it's been an idea of mine for a couple of years now, and I just never really found the right person to do it with. And then I thought, why don't I do it myself? Just bite the bullet. I think this is episode 2 now. So I've recorded a few that aren't going to see the light of day, but I think this is episode 2. Yeah, and we've finally found like a studio in Birmingham. So it's like a podcasting studio that we can rent. So I can't wait to get in there. So in terms of like career-wise for you, then what's next? What do you see yourself?
I think that it would be good to keep pushing down the commercial road. I do really like it, and I think that when I started working, I kind of was a bit frustrated with working in commercial and corporate film and in that area. But actually, part of me does really love consumerism. I mean, I would say I'm probably politically a socialist, but advertising things to people, I find it sort of inherently fun because you kind of, it takes quite a lot of skill and creativity to grab someone's attention in this very noisy world. So
there's a lot of psychology involved, like consumer psychology and stuff like that as well, with the colors that you use and the different kinds of ways you grab attention.
Absolutely, and it can be a very creative space as well. You get the right client or the right project, and they'll let you run with it. Often people want to make groundbreaking content. Ultimately, that's what they're paying for. Yeah. I wouldn't say that I've necessarily got to as of yet, but I think that I kind of my personal goal would be to try and move into that next bracket of going up to the higher budget TV commercials. For your kind of more bigger luxury brands. But sorry, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to shut the window because
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, from going on what you were saying then, what kind of projects have you been most proud of?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that annoyingly, lots of the projects that I'm really proud of, I can't actually talk about because
Oh,
they're all
really?
very, very strict NDAs. But
Classified information.
yes, yeah. But I think that in terms of maybe not projects I'm proud of, but I would say that I'm proud to have been able to have taken something that was quite sort of a very small experience and learning what the industry is and turn that into a job. I've not, like most people, not unlike most people, I haven't really, done that kind of retail or service-based job route, kind of building something up on the side. I kind of was quite fortunate in being able to dive straight into doing a job that I wanted to do and just being able to kind of grow that. And I think that the thing that I'd say I'm proud of is just keeping that momentum going, seeing opportunities that are out there, taking them, applying for jobs and actually going, okay, well, you might not be qualified for it, but I'm sending an application anyway, and having a conversation with those people, trying to stay relevant, I guess, would be something that I would say people get boggled down with a lot. And I don't know if it's necessarily important because I think that it's very easy to kind of go down the road of comparing yourself against other people and your peers and stuff. But ultimately, you can only really be your own. You can only be within your own remit. You can't really.
Yeah.
You don't know what other people are kind of how they've got to where they are and what's happened. You can spend a lot of time thinking about that, and it's not healthy.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. There's been a lot of focus on mental health in everybody over over the course of the pandemic as well. It's been very, very highlighted. Yeah, so yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up because it's social media is one of those big platforms as well where you compare yourself to everybody, and everybody's trying to fake. Well, not everybody, but most people try to fake a version of themselves that's just to compare to everybody else. And I think authenticity is the way forward, to be honest. So what do you kind of think you're going to do differently going into 2021? Any New Year's resolutions or anything like that?
I would like to exercise. That would be a good start for next year. I don't know. I mean, I think I always try and put a few New Year's resolutions down, but they rarely go into fruition. I think after about the second week of January, I'm back in the pub with a pint in my hand, kind of going, well, I'll try again next year. I think that it would just be I really want to go back to shooting. That's one thing I've missed most this year is that, okay, I've done a couple of shoots during the coronavirus and they were fine. They were, COVID compliant and friendly. I feel like I have to say that. But, being able to call up a company and say, hey, do you want to do a video this weekend? And then that's it. And that happens. Or do you want to do it something Friday afternoon? Or just having that flexibility to create things has kind of been lost. I think, lots of people are quite rightly, shielding and whatever. And I think that hopefully with next year and obviously the news of the vaccine and stuff that we've had, that I'll be back in a place where I can kind of be just out doing what I love on a weekly basis and just getting back with cameras on sets, working with actors and lots of creative people, because I've kind of gone from doing that to doing lots of post-production. And as I mentioned before, it's not my favorite place to be.
Yeah.
So I do think that that's what I'm kind of looking forward to. And I'm very fortunate in the job that I have. I do have the the capacity and the support to bring those opportunities. If and that's something I'm being actively encouraged to do, is that if I want to do more shoots next year, then I can absolutely help make that happen. So
Amazing.
I think that's what I think for next year, is to shoot more and not take it for granted either.
Yeah, you briefly mentioned the vaccine as well. Are you kind of pro-vaccine? Are you what are your thoughts on that? Is it something you're going to have?
I think I'll be quite surprised if I actually get it.
Okay.
If I could get it, I would take it. I think that you mentioned social media. It's been an interesting year for fake news and pushing certain agendas, and it's kind of met its head, I guess. At the end of this year, look, ultimately, I want things to go back to normal. Do I believe that there's a conspiracy where Bill Gates is trying to track my location through a very small injection? No. Do I think it might be dangerous? Potentially, but then, what control do I have over that? It could be dangerous me having a smartphone in my pocket, and yet I willingly pay to have that experience.
Yeah.
But ultimately, we don't know, and I would rather take the risk of, well, we can actually all be back to seeing our friends and family. We could be doing some of this in person. We'd be able to get a pint afterwards. I feel like I'm talking a lot about beer. I'm not actually an alcoholic. It's just that it's a social environment, and I think that if we can get to a situation where we're back to some sort of normality, then absolutely the vaccine, I will take it, and I would implore other people to take it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Perfect. Well, I think we're coming up to our window. Have you got any kind of messages for the audience that's listening, or?
I guess it's hard to know what to say, but I think that lots of people are unsure whether or not to pursue a career in the creative industry. I think that you'll have people that will tell them you're not going to make any money, the work's really hard, it's really competitive. Lots of people obviously suffer with things like imposter syndrome and all those things. But I would say that that's in every job and every career. It's difficult in every job and every career. It's just difficult in different ways. And if you do want to be, I don't know, a 3D designer or a director, or you want to do motion graphics, then as I said before, watch those videos on YouTube, give it a go. And if you like it, then I think that's got to be the dream, right? Is to be able to do a job that you want to do, that you really enjoy. And so I'd say, go for it, email those companies and see what they say, because ultimately all you're going to do is learn how to write an email, and that is invaluable.
Really appreciate that. Yeah, it's a really good message. One last question as well, a bit of a weird one. Do you believe in aliens?
Ooh,
Do you believe there's life on other planets?
I would love it if there was.
Yeah.
I think it'd be so much. I mean, it's like a sci-fi dream come true, isn't it?
Just so you know, and so the audience knows, the reason I ask is because the next guest is the CEO of a foundation called the Cosmic Contact, and he's going to be discussing his experience with ETs and UFOs. So yeah, tune in for that one. So yeah, is it something you do believe in? Do you think there's life on other planets?
If I had to put money on it, I would probably bet to say yes, there is. And I think that's only because I think that humanity is pretty shoddy, and it's a bit sad if that's all that's out there.
Yeah. You see that we're living in a simulation as well, so there's another theory.
I was going to say that, but I didn't want to take the direction in that other way. But I would say that, yeah, I wholeheartedly believe the simulation theory, and I'm annoyed that I read about it, because now I cling on to it quite a lot, because it just seems the only option is that we are in a simulation and none of this is real.
Yeah, 100%. No, I actually agree with that, and I have got another guest coming on to speak about it. I've just got to book in a date, so stay tuned.
I'm looking forward to hearing about that. That sounds great.
Ben, appreciate it. Where can people find you on social media before I let you go?
You can get me on Instagram at BJWFilm, and I rarely post, and that's sort of, I guess it's because of what we were chatting about earlier, in that it's that, what do I post, when do I post, does it matter, who cares? So I don't know, maybe I'll post a photo today, who knows.
Perfect, appreciate it. Keep yourself safe.
And you, thanks so much, James. Catch you.